I am here today to say to Canadians to avoid travel to the United States if at all possible, and to call our government to stand up for our Canadian citizens who are being denied their rights by arbitrary detention in the United States today. Canada must stand up for our citizens and for the rule of law.
Be careful, you might get detained at the border. The ICE agents, they might get you.
Concerns me is the targeting of Canadian citizens who are crossing the border to work or to visit. We have seen too many stories of citizens being pulled out of airport lines and being fingerprinted and deported as though they were criminals. Citizens being kidnapped through illegal detention by ICE.
Canada is cancelling America, and it's costing the US billions. 59% of Canadians are actively boycotting American products. Canadian tourism to the US has dropped by over 30% since 2024. And the US Travel Association says America lost $5.7 billion in tourism spending in 2025, with Canada taking the blame. America's closest ally and biggest source of international tourists has decided it's done spending money there. So should Americans be worried? Absolutely. And here's why.
What is one country that you would not like to visit?
Currently, it's the U.S. I have no desire to be in the United States. I haven't visited the United States until a certain authoritarian populist took over the country.
Has U.S. affected Canada's economy a lot, do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've been hard intertrade partners for, many decades now. And with all the trade wars and tariffs that are going on right now, it's certainly put strain on both economies.
Recent data shows that tourism from Canada into Vermont is down. Now, that's why I'm in Montreal, to talk to locals to find out why. I've already spoken to several of them, and while there are a couple of different reasons why they're not visiting the United States anymore, I found that there's one overwhelming reason.
It's right now Donald Trump. That's why we don't go to the States. It's Donald Trump's fault. You heard that?
To understand what's happening, you have to understand what set it off.
Thank Donald Trump for the boycott that we're currently receiving in the United States from Canadians. Because of Donald Trump and because of his tariffs with Canada and the way that they have been treated by Trump, they are boycotting every single product in Canada that is made in the United States. You can go to the grocery stores in Canada and there would be for the U.S. products, for example, Lay's potato chips and all the chips and all the stuff from the U.S. completely full. Not a one. They're on sale. She said they're on sales price for $2.97. Nobody's touching it. The Canadian chips, the Canadian food, all the Canadian right beside it, cleaned out. Shelves are cleaned out. Same thing with soup. American soup, stock full. Canadian soup cleaned out. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, not touching a single drop from the United States. Everything from Canada, they're buying. The Canadians also are canceling their trips to the United States. They're canceling. You read the news and listen to the news in Canada, they're canceling everything. And they are angry and upset with Donald Trump in the United States, and the rest of us are going to pay for it. Same thing with hotels, same thing with those that are in high tourist destinations from Canada, Florida in particular, South Florida, Orlando, other parts of the U.S., you all are going to start to feel. If you work for these companies that make these products that are sold in Canada, they're not going to be moving. So they're going to start not needing you to work as many hours. Over time, it takes time for all this to work back through, where you're not going to be needed as much because the Canadians are buying nothing made from the United States. They're not buying until Donald Trump is out of the office. When he and J.D. Vance are gone, they'll buy American products again, but not until.
In early 2025, the DT administration imposed a sweeping 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. For Canadians, this wasn't just economic policy, it felt deeply personal. Canada and the US shared the longest undefended border in the world. The two countries trade over $2 billion worth of goods every single day. They'd been best friends, economically and culturally, for generations. And then came something even more inflammatory. Rhetoric about annexing Canada as the 51st state. Whether it was serious or not, Canadians did find it funny. In fact, polling showed that 90% of Canadians were closely following the trade war. Nearly every single Canadian was paying attention. And when 91% of Canadians told pollsters they wanted their country to rely less on the US, not repair the relationship, but reduce dependence, it was clear something had fundamentally shifted. And this wasn't just politics anymore. It was personal.
Starting today, LCBO, the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world, will begin removing U.S. products from its store shelves. And as the exclusive wholesaler, American brands will no longer be available in LCBO catalog, meaning other retailers, bars, and restaurants in the province will no longer be able to restock U.S. products.
Very creepy thing happening with labeling in the food and beverage industry right now. Over a year ago, when our relationship started to fall apart with the United States, many Canadians made the wise decision to stop purchasing U.S. food products, so U.S. alcohol and U.S. food at the grocery store. And of course, many of our provinces made the decision to no longer stock American-made products. Now, of course, you have to think that those companies that produce that stuff, they still want our money, right? They want to get Canadian money back to the U.S. that fills their 401ks, lines their pockets, and they can continue to donate to the Republican Party. So they looked at it, in these companies that produce food and alcohol, particularly I know about the alcohol industry, they looked at it and said, how are we going to get around this, and how are we going to fool Canadians into thinking that they're buying Canadian? So what they started to do was ship their product up to Canada in totes or truckloads or pallets, what have you, and then they started packaging it in Canada. And that would allow them to put Made in Canada on it, not disclosing that the ingredients are U.S. ingredients, basically just bottled in Canada, maybe added some water, sent it up concentrated, right, so it's easier cheaper to ship, and then added some water in Canada. And they're able to get away with this because there's nothing in law in Canada that requires disclosure on the label of the source of the main contents of the product. Now, in the United States, there is actually requirements to disclose this, but not in Canada. Disclose to us the source of the primary contents of it. Say where the company is based. Say, you know, this company is based in New Orleans, this company is based in Minnesota, this company is based in Idaho, whatever, company is based in New York. That way people can say, okay, well, look, this is an American company. I'm avoiding buying from American companies. I'm not going to choose this product. Or, you know, you can look it up and decide, is this a red state? Is this a blue state? This seems to me to be a no-brainer. And, I mean, there may be other places around the world that people want to have that choice, that political decision, right? We're in a democracy and it's all about disclosure. But particularly if it's coming from the U.S. right now, a lot of people will feel duped when they find out. And as I travel around to the liquor stores in British Columbia, and I travel around to a lot of liquor stores, one of the things that consistently comes out is that people going into the liquor store are asking, and the people at the liquor store can't give an answer, and you cannot get an answer on the basis of the label. So if the company is based outside of Canada, it should disclose where that company is based, where their corporate headquarters are, where that money is going back when you purchase that product.
Let's talk about what Canadians are actually doing. First, the shopping boycott. Surveys show that 75% of Canadians started actively buying more Canadian products after the tariffs hit, and 59% said they were boycotting American-made goods outright. Think about what that means in practice. Canadians walk into their grocery stores, flip products over, check the label, and if it says made in the USA, they pull it back. Provinces took it even further. In February of 2025, several Canadian provinces removed millions of dollars worth of American wine and spirits from government-run liquor stores, a dramatic public and very reported statement. The Buy Canadian movement exploded. Social media was flooded with tips on how to identify American products, which Canadian brands to switch to, and how to shop patriotically. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency even saw a spike in consumer complaints about country of origin labeling because Canadians needed to know what they were buying. Now, here's where things get really eye-opening for Americans, especially if you live in a border state.
Catastrophic loss to tourism in Florida just from Canadians.
A lot of them will not come because of Trump and what was going on with Canada. They just don't want to come and spend their money here. The cost of living here has changed a lot. Everything went up.
It's no secret Canadian snowbirds haven't been flocking to South Florida lately. President Trump's immigration rules and tariffs have caused controversy in Canada.
The greater Fort Lauderdale is expecting up to 150,000 fewer visitors from Canada. You know, they make up one of the largest groups of international visitors to South Florida. According to Visit Lauderdale, Canadian visitors...
Trump has cost South Florida, $90 million and climbing just from Canadians. Just from Canadians. But wait, it gets worse. Did you know the entire world is boycotting the United States of America in tourism? Did you know that we are right now on track to lose $31 billion in tourism alone just in 2025? And that is an estimate. And yes, it has grown. Trump is destroying the USA.
Canadians are the largest group of international tourists to the United States. In 2024, more than 20 million Canadians visited the US, making up 28% of all international visitors. They spend over $20.5 billion in American hotels, restaurants, theme parks, and shops. That is an enormous number, and it's been shrinking fast. Since the T returned to office in January of 2025, Canadian visits to the US have been in freefall. Canadian return trips by car dropped 28.6%, representing 11 consecutive months of year-over-year declines. By February of 2026, trips had fallen 14.5% compared to the year before, and a staggering 31.5% compared to February of 2024, before trade tensions even began. The US Travel Association projected a loss of $5.7 billion in international tourism spending for 2025, and they pointed directly at the drop in Canadian visitors as the primary reason. And where are Canadians going instead? They're not staying home entirely. They're redirecting. Overseas trips by Canadians rose 9.2% in 2025. Mexico and Europe are the big winners. Meanwhile, Canadian domestic tourism surged. Accommodation and dining spending inside Canada rose 5.6% for the year. Canadians are still traveling. They're just not traveling south. In California, the situation got so serious that Governor Newsom launched an international campaign to welcome Canadians to travel to the state of California, acknowledging that Canadians spend over $300 million a year in the region alone. The state of California launched a tourism campaign specifically to encourage Canadians to come back. Some American tourist operators started offering exclusive deals just for Canadian tourists. That's how significant this is. American cities are begging Canadians to return.
Gavin Newsom announced that the state of California is launching an international campaign to welcome Canadians to travel to the state of California. In his announcement, he basically said, "We're different than the rest of the country. Please come and visit us. We respect you, and there's something for everybody here in the state of California." This seems like a nice sentiment, but I have to read you the comment section in his video where he announced it, because Canadians are not going to mess around with the United States. This comment says, "Sorry, the United States government can't even protect their own legal documented citizens. What makes us Canadians rest assured that you can guarantee our safety?" And my Canadian family visited Anaheim and Palm Springs every year for the last 33 years, but now it's not even safe to cross the border. We may be welcome to California, but we are targets for the United States of America. Another one says, "I always go to California for concerts, but I just can't with your president." Your country has accepted the suspension of the rule of law. The administration is now ignoring Supreme Court rulings and bragging about it. Nope, not until you are a stable nation again. Mr. Newsom, do you realize that the United States is currently ranked 132 out of 195 on the safety index, while Canada is 11th, right? Thanks, but hard pass. Why don't you visit us instead? We don't jail our visitors. Canadians, the nicest people on the planet, they don't even want to visit the state of California, where we are liberal AF and not on board with Donald Trump's policies.
Here's what makes this story bigger than just economics. The US-Canada relationship has been one of the most stable, friendly, and mutually beneficial partnerships in modern history. Two countries sharing 5,500 miles of border, deeply integrated economies, shared culture, shared defense through NATO, and decades of goodwill. What you're watching right now is that goodwill eroding, and it's happening fast. The shift in Canadian attitudes towards the US has been described by analysts as unprecedented. This isn't just Canadians being annoyed. This is a foundational generational change in how millions of Canadians see their relationship with their biggest neighbor. And it's not just Canada. Similar boycott sentiments have been reported in Denmark and Sweden, following US political rhetoric about those countries as well. America's soft power, the kind built on trust, friendship, and cultural goodwill, is taking a real hit. For Americans, the question isn't just about losing tourist dollars or bourbon sales. It's about what kind of global standing the US wants to maintain, and whether the policies driving the wedge are worth the cost. It's not all one-directional. Interestingly, while Canadians have been staying home from the US, Americans have actually been traveling to Canada more.
Was a hot spot for travelers from all across the globe, and despite the political trade tensions between the United States and Canada, Americans are making more trips to Canada. Those I met with today said it's a place that brings them peace.
Ottawa Tourism says it's heartened by the latest StatsCan data, but U.S. visits to the capital are down compared to last year. However, visitors from the U.S. stayed longer and spent 15% more during their trips to Ottawa.
For the upcoming tourism season, the capital is expecting more visitors, and Ottawa Tourism says they are well positioned to welcome Americans to the capital region.
We just hit an all-time high for international visitors in the province of Alberta for January 2026. International visitors to the province surged up more than 7% in January. Majority of the international visitors are from our neighbors of the south. While many Canadians are not going to the United States, Americans have no problem coming to visit Alberta.
Statistics Canada reported a 6.1 increase in US resident trips to Canada in February of 2026, the first year-over-year increase after 12 consecutive months of declines. So the cross-border relationship isn't completely frozen, and some American businesses have responded creatively. But the overall trend is clear. Canadian visits to the US hit a new record low in early 2026, and travel industry experts say the boycott isn't going away quickly. Recovery, if it comes, will require more than just deals and discounts. It will require a meaningful shift in the political relationship between the two countries. So, should Americans be worried? Honestly, yes. Not in a panic kind of way, but in a wake-up call kind of way.
Canada didn't protest. Canada didn't post. Canada just stopped showing up. And the numbers just came in, and they are devastating for the U.S. economy. A new study tracked Canadian travel to the United States from Trump's so-called Liberation Day, April 2025, through the full year that followed. The result: a 42% drop in Canadian travel to the U.S. And that's a partial number. The boycott had already been running for 3 months before Liberation Day even hit. The real collapse shows up in the details. Myrtle Beach, down 65%. Major tourist areas across the country, down 50% or more. Some regions reporting losses as high as 80%. Las Vegas, which had more workers dependent on Canadian tourism than its entire manufacturing sector, has been gutted. The no tipping tax promise doesn't mean much when there are no tips left to protect. But here's what makes this more than a tourism story. The study tracked cell phone data and found that even Canadians who do cross the border for legitimate reasons, family visits, business travel, are not stopping along the way. They're going in, doing what they came for, and leaving. No restaurants, no hotels, no discretionary spending. More significantly, Canadian business travelers are redirecting entirely. Instead of heading to San Francisco or Detroit for industry meetings, they're going to the Netherlands, France, and China. The financial, tech, and industrial sectors are showing the same sharp drop as tourism. Ordinary Canadians, not their politicians, not their government, made this happen. And they held the line through winter, through Vegas, offering discount deals to win them back, through every prediction that the boycott would fade. It didn't fade. It's accelerating.
Canada isn't just America's neighbor, it's America's largest trading partner, its most reliable tourism source, and up until recently, one of its closest allies. When that relationship cracks, the effects aren't just symbolic. They show up in empty hotel rooms, quieter border crossings, and billions of dollars that used to flow into American communities going somewhere else instead. The Canadian boycott is a mirror, and what it's reflecting back to the US is worth paying attention to. Whether you agree with the policies that triggered it or not, the data is clear. Canada is canceling America, and America is feeling it.
So I know myself, I am too old and too soft to do any jail time, so I will not be heading to the US in the next 4 years. But frankly, I don't want to put my money into an economy that wants to make us the 51st state anyways. But there is so much crazy stuff coming out about the US border right now. I did a bit of a dive, and it is insane. I'm going to give some suggestions for people, Canadians who have to go to the US, because you may have to. I don't know. They say, first of all, make sure people know where you are going, what time you're supposed to arrive, have them check in on you. If you don't arrive, have them start alerting people. They also say to bring the name and number of a local immigration attorney in case you need it, because ICE will not give you access to your phone or let you research anything. With regards to phones, they are deeming burner phones suspicious, so that's not great. Definitely put your phone on passcodes only. Best case scenario, they will turn you around at the border and you'll get to come back to Canada. Worst case scenario, you won't wind up in Canada or your destination. So that's why they're saying fly, not drive, because again, that way in airports, you've got lots more people around you. In case someone tries to disappear you, it will be a lot more obvious what's going on, as opposed to driving, you're a little more contained. And yeah, if you have to go, good luck.
So what do you all think? Is this boycott justified, and will it last? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video specifically tailored for you, and if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing, because it helps me grow my channel and helps YouTube recommend this video to a wider audience. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, the Joy Report out.